Soumya ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Soumya ma'am, request you to please turn on your camera so that we can bring you in the spotlight. Can we begin the session, Soumya ma'am?
Can you please allow me to share my screen?
Just a moment, I'll just give you a brief introduction, ma'am, and then you can share the screen, ma'am. Will that be fine, Soumya ma'am?
Sure.
Are you connected, Soumya ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the second session for today would be conducted by Ms. Soumya Mehrotra. Ma'am is a business relationship manager at Center for Monitoring Indian Economy Private Limited. In short, it's CMIE. She is responsible for education and research segment for entire North and Central India. She has been with CMIE for more than 5 years, and she's exposed to the entire information industry, right from Government of India, corporates and consultants, including the big four banks and NBFCs, media houses, educational and research institutions like IIMs and ITs. This session would particularly be focusing upon the use of CMIE data for research and analysis purpose. So without much ado, I would uh, give the screen sharing rights to you, Ms. Soumya, and you can proceed.
Thank you so much, Kiran ma'am. Just give me a go ahead once you're able to see my screen. Are you? Is my screen visible? The website of the company?
Yes, it's visible, ma'am.
Perfect. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Kiran and the entire team of IPS Academy for organizing this session and inviting me for the same. Secondly, thank you to Girish sir for having a fabulous session on Prowess and all the research that he has shared with us. It's actually a mind-blowing thing to see when your database is used by such eminent users and is presented in front of the researchers. Thank you, Garisa, once again. Then I would like to thank all the other participants who have joined in today for this session. Thank you so much for your time. I hope the takeaway from this session benefits all the researchers in multiple folds. So I'm going to quickly start with introducing what CMI is and what we've been doing. I've given a brief in the previous session of Dr. Agarwal. But to quickly tell people who have recently joined the session, that Center for Monitoring Indian Economy is an information company which has been dealing and monitoring the Indian economy past 4 decades. So we were established in the year 1976, and since then we've been monitoring the Indian economy. And whatever monitoring that we do, we offer it to our clients in forms of the database offerings that we have. What you can see on your screens is the website of CMI, and the drop down enlists the offerings that we have. So we divide our offerings into 3 stratas. The first is the company level database, the second is the economic databases, and the third is the household well-being database. So talking about the company level database, today we are going to talk in detail about one of its offerings, which is Prowess IQ. And we are going to talk in detail of how to work through your way on Prowess IQ, how to extract the data, how can you benefit from Prowess IQ in your research purposes, and how secondary data can help you do that. Then to give you a quick introduction on all these offerings, Prowess IQ, like I said, is a company level database that offers data on the Indian companies listed as well as unlisted. PACE and Prowess DX are variants of the same database, which is PACE stands for Prowess Application for Credit Evaluation, and Prowess DX is typically designed for research and academia, which is a data extraction model for big data analysis. Then we have CAPEX, like I had briefed in the previous session. We have a primary survey data wherein we capture the life cycles of the project, wherein we capture what happens to a project once it is announced in the economy. We capture the entire life cycle, and then we also interpret the flow of investments based on that data. Then we have First Source, which is the database of all the companies which are registered in India with MCA. So this is a database. This is of more than 1.5 million companies. Right. Coming down to the second bifurcation of the databases that we offer, which is the economic databases. Economic Outlook gives you the macroeconomic level data. It doesn't only talk about the past and the present of the data in terms of numbers, but it also talks about the future of the economy, eight quarters and 5 years down the line. It also has very insightful analytical articles wherein you can read and you can read the interpretation of the numbers which have happened in the economy. Then we have States of India, wherein we go niche into the economics of states and districts along with the data and the articles. Then we have Industry Outlook, which is one of the most comprehensive databases of CMI, wherein we capture 209 Indian industries and all the whereabouts of that, right from the annual performance of the industries to the quarterly, to the market performance, to the market share. And again, it also talks about the 5 years down the line performance of the industries. Then we have commodities, which is the price polling data of CMI, wherein we capture 200 agriculture commodities and the price polling data for them. Then we have Trade DX, which is the database of Indian imports and exports with the world. This is the DGCI's data that is presented in this service. Then we have, like I said, we are into primary survey also. So we capture the Indian households and their well-beings. We capture the sample sizes of around 176,000 Indian households, wherein the well-being, the demographic profiles, the income and expenditure pattern, the consumer sentiment basically is captured in this database. So this is the entire bunch of offering, the bouquet of offerings that CMI has. Now, when you talk about data and when you talk about secondary data per se, the first thing that comes into a researcher's mind is if it is authentic data to use and if it is reliable data to use, because obviously if you use any wrong data, it will ultimately hamper the research and might cost you your time, your patience, your practice when you're writing a research paper. So I would like to give you a brief on what are the segments that we cater. So right from the government of India, who is not only a major producer of the data, which to any country or government is, it is a major consumer of our major and intensive consumer of CMI databases, for a fact that they do have the data, but they don't have a structure to their data, right? So they what you need when you're looking out for a secondary data is, one, its authenticity, two, its convenience. If a database is not able to provide you convenience, then it is of no utility. So it is reliable, and then you get the convenience of getting all the data at one single platform. Then going ahead with corporates and consultants, and when I say consultants, I'm including the big fours. So if you, and this is also with a perspective, because I know for a fact that many of the researchers that are joining in today are faculties to different institutions, and they probably will be using Provis IQ to teach their students. So, and for aspirants who are wanting to crack a job, a lot of MBA aspirants who look out for jobs after they complete their MBA can benefit from CMI services, because the corporates and the consultants have CMI services incorporated in their systems for their day-to-day activities, for making the strategies of their business. Then going ahead, all the nationalized banks today have CMI subscriptions, particularly Proves and its variants, for a basic function that they have of making credit proposals. That is the major function, and there's a lot more that you can do from the services, and that they do as well. Then going ahead, a major segment that we cater is research and academia, wherein the researchers and the education institutions subscribe to services of CMI to aid their researchers and faculties with secondary data, secondary reliable data, and for their researchers. So all the IITs and IIMs, in particular, have subscription of all the services that right now you can see on your screens, and they use it for their research purposes. Then one more segment which is quite prominently using CMI services is the media houses. Whatever figures that are quoted in Economic Times or Business Standards, there are a lot of figures that are taken from the CMI services, taking in reference what the article is all about. But all these media houses also have a subscription of CMI services, and they quite prominently use CMI services for for the reference on the numbers. So I hope, and before my session, Dr. Agarwal has quite briefly mentioned how Provis IQ can be is a reliable source, and how the other universities and eminent writers, eminent researchers are using CMI services for their research purposes. Now I'm going to quickly take you to how you can use Provis IQ and what are the details of this database. Now quickly, I'm going to take you through the website of Provis IQ. So there are two basic functions that you will have to do if you have the subscription of Provis IQ. You'll have to go on the website of Provis IQ, which is provisiq.cmi.com, and you have right here available the download option. The Provis IQ works on the CMI server, so you need to download the exe to work on it. Simply click on download, the exe gets downloaded. This is a 12 MB executable file, which simply gets downloaded to your system. You run the file, and it creates a shortcut icon of Provis IQ on your desktop screens, which looks like this. This is the shortcut icon of Provis IQ, and this is exactly where you start accessing your service from. Okay. So I am right now on my desktop. So like I said, once you run the file, it will create a shortcut icon of Provis IQ on your desktop screens. Then moving forward, you need a username and password to access the service. So you simply have to register yourself. You will get a user, if you click on register right here, you will get this form opened up. Fill in the details, click on submit. This is just one-time process. These two steps is just one-time process, and once you've done it once in your lifetime, and if you keep using the same email ID, you will not have to do it ever again. So this is how you get yourself registered to the CMI portal and get the access of username and password to access the service. Now, I'll quickly take you to the interface of Provis IQ and how to use it. So what you can see on your screens is the interface of Provis IQ. And Kiran ma'am, can you just give me a go ahead if you're able to view Provis IQ?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
So, just a second. Right. So this is the interface of Provis IQ. To give you a quick navigation on the technical aspects of Provis is, Provis IQ is a queryable database. Like I said, it is a company level database on Indian companies listed as well as unlisted. So the USP of this database is this is a database of unlisted companies for which accessing the data is quite difficult a task. Now, the universe of Provis IQ, when you talk about how many companies' data does Provis IQ provide, it is currently, as on today, the number stands at 51,439 companies. Now, when I'm saying that as on date, by that I mean that we continuously and on a regular basis keep adding companies to Provis IQ. So the universe of companies Provis IQ offers keeps increasing on a daily basis. Right? Now, when I talk about the Indian companies data, what data does it provide? Now, Provis IQ gives you all the data that a company publishes in an annual report of the company. Right? So all the data. When you talk about an annual report, if to quickly give you a brief of what an annual report will be, how I sum it up is, it's a report card of a company. So a report card will not only have the maths numbers, but it will also have the economics and the HR numbers, right? So when you look at Provis IQ, don't look at it as a financial database, look at it as a corporate database, which gives you the company level information, which answers the first doubt that comes into people's mind, is that it will only give me the financial information of the company. No, it will give you the information of the entire structuring of the company, and it will also, I'm just going to admit few people. Okay. So it will also give you the information of the organization structure, right? In terms of the HR information, it will also give you the marketing information, which is what are the expenditures that the company is doing, how a particular product is being performing in that sense. If a company is into multi-dimensional products, how each of its products is been performing. So if I take an example of HUL, it has multi-dimensional products. It is a varied company, offers different products. Which of the product of that company is performing well, and in which market, if it is the Indian market or the international market. So all of that can be done for a marketing perspective, and all the other information is also available right here. Let me quickly take you to through the service, and then we will go in detail of how to run a query. And taking from Dr. Agarwal's session, I will take you through how a basic few queries can be run over time. Right now what you can see on your screen is the query builder, and this is the first screen that comes up to you when you open Provis IQ. This has 9 query triggers to help you figure your weight out on the database. Right from on the left hand side, what you can see is companies and sets, company address and identity indicators, ownership structure and governance indicators, financial statements, stock prices and capital changes, business segments and products, capex and M&A, which is the capital expenditure and merger acquisitions data, miscellaneous that talks about the additions and updations in the service, and indices and index numbers. Now, very importantly, when you're looking at your company and its financial performances, you also want to look at the market performance of the company. So that data is also available in Provis IQ, which is the BSE and NSE market data. Now, what we have done in these 9 query triggers is we've broken down the data from the annual report and fed in these individual subheads so that it becomes easy for you to navigate yourself. Then the second workspace is, like I said, there are 5 workspaces to work on. The second workspace is the output view. Now, this is a blank space, what you can see right now. But once an output gets generated, this will look like an Excel file to you. This is where the output comes up. The third is the report viewer and chart plotter section. This is one of the most easy workspaces to work on. So there are 2 variants of Provis within this platform. There is a queryable part to it, which is under query builder, wherein you can ask questions. The other is the simpler version of it. If you want to pick one particular company and analyze it thoroughly, right from their individual reports to their peer comparison to the benchmarking of the competition as well as the industry. That all can be done with simple clickable reports. This has the same query triggers that we just spoke about in the query builder, and these are clickable reports. So I'm going to show you in detail all these workspaces. The fourth workspace is the worksheet. This is again a type of output view, but this is the difference between the output view and the worksheet is output view gives you data wherein you require one row and multiple columns for one particular company. It's a 2-dimensional data. When you want a multi-dimensional data wherein you require multiple rows and multiple columns for one particular company, for example, you're looking at the merger and acquisitions data. So that data will come up in the worksheet. The fifth workspace is a technical workspace, which is which are with 2 functions to perform. The primary function of this workspace is that it saves the history log of all the queries that you run over time. Right? The advanced function of this workspace is that it helps you save the queries that you have and create a batch out of it. If you worked on macros in Excel, this works in a similar fashion wherein you can save the bunch of queries in one ahead and run it after say 10 days, 15 days, whatever. You can save it in your particular login and you can rerun it on different set of companies. You don't have to time and again trigger the queries, but you can simply create that batch and save it and run it later. Now let's come down to the query builder and run a few queries. When I'm looking at Provis IQ, I need to have an agenda. Not only Provis IQ, I would say. Whenever you're looking at a database, you will have a particular agenda in mind. So when you're looking at a company level database, your probable query can be that you have a company's name in mind and you want data on it, right? How do I do that? So what I do is I go to the first query trigger, which is companies and sets, and I go to the first subhead of it, which is says select company by name. Right. Once I do that, a new window will open up to me. Each of these subheads have their individual windows. Now in Provis IQ, how you can select a particular company? You can select it by its name, by the company name, by BSC script ID, BSC script code, NSC symbol, MCA SIN code, and Provis company code. And this can be done with a simple drop down. You can make your selection and accordingly type in the company's name or ID or whatever you have information as an identifying factor, because 90% of the users use that as the name as default, so we've kept company name as default. Now if I have a company's name in mind, say Maruti, I simply type in the company's name here. All the companies with the starting alphabet will get listed. So all the companies with the starting alphabet of Maruti gets listed. Now, if I don't want to look at Maruti Business Services Limited, I have a specific company's name in mind. I want to look at Maruti Suzuki. I can simply double click on the company and it gets selected on the right hand side selection panel. Now, the selections have been done. All you need to do is execute the query. Like I said at the beginning of the session, this is a queryable database which runs on the CMI server. This exe gives you an access to that server, right? So once you've structured a query, on the bottom right hand side, you have execute commands that says add to current OSC, send to new SC, and replace current OSC. These are the three execute commands that you have. OSC is nothing but an acronym for output sheet current. Right now, I don't have an output sheet. My output sheet is blank. So all I need to do is I will simply say send to new OSC. And I have executed my query. It will show me a pop-up that the query has been executed successfully. Now, how do I know an output has been generated is the new output tab that you can see on the top right hand side would start blinking with dark blue color like it is blinking right now. All you need to do is click on it. A dialog box opens up to you that talks about what is the query that you run and what is the time that has been taken to run the query. This query did not even take a second, so it took microseconds to run the query. I simply press continue. And I have my company added to my output sheet, right? All I need to do is need to have an idea of what data do I need, right? I will go back to the query builder. Now, whatever data that I want for this company, whether it is a financial indicator, whether it is according to the industry group that it belongs to, all of that I can pull out. So now, for example, before I can pull out the financial indicators, I want some identity details. All I do is I go to the second subhead of it, which says company address and identity indicators, and I pull out some basic figures that I would need for it. I want to know when was it incorporated, what is the industry group that Maruti Suzuki belongs to, what is the main product of the company. Now, when I talk about the main product, by that I mean that more than how do CMI define the main product of the company is we categorize a particular company product as a main product is if the more than 50% of the revenue generation is done from that particular product. Then I want to know the NIC code, the NIC name, and the ownership group of the company. So these are the basic identity details that I want for this particular company. How I have made my selections. Now, the second part to it comes into picture, which is the domain part. There are two domains to it, all companies and companies in current OSC. Now, if I run this query, keeping the domain to all companies, this will run on all the 51,000 plus companies which I have in the Provis database. But what I need is only the companies that I have in my output sheet. In this scenario, I want data for Maruti. So I will change from all companies to companies in current OSC. As soon as I do that, a new execute command gets added, which is retain match companies in OSC. Now, this is when I put a criteria, I put a filter to my criteria, wherein I say that I want only those companies who has been earning profit in the last 2 years. That's the criteria that I'm giving to the query. Right now, I don't have any such criteria. I simply want to add these indicators to my output sheet. So I will say add data to OSC. And it will give me a prompt that the query has been triggered successfully. Now let me address one thing. When you look at the service for the first time, the first thing that comes into mind after looking at the process is this is a tedious one. How am I going to memorize all these steps and make my way through? This might look technical to you, but once you have a hands-on to this, you have all the help guides available, which I'm going to tell you about in my session, during my session. This is not a difficult database. It is simply giving you data at convenience. So all these indicator sets, all these query triggers are self-explanatory. And once you get a hands-on, once you start working on it, you will make your way through and there will be no problems per se. So now if you can see, the company is Maruti Suzuki India, and all the data that I had asked for has been added. The incorporation year, the industry group, main product of the company, the NIC number, name of the company, the NIC code that it belongs to, and the ownership group. Now, when you talk about a database and when you talk about working on a data set, you need to know the time series, right? So to mention here, Provis IQ offers a database of long time series starting from 1988 onwards. So that's the starting point of the database, and it keeps growing as the number of years. So there is no deletion of the years that we are doing. The data set will start from 1988 onwards. Moving ahead, this is about one particular company. Now, for example, for this particular company, let me run another query and show you. I want some indicators to be added to my Maruti Suzuki Limited. I will go to the financial statements and I go to the first subhead of it, which is annual financial statements. Now, if you can see under these subcategories, we have three categories. Annual financial statements, Ind AS, and annual financial statements combined. Now, these are the three categories wherein what happens is, if you obviously will know that earlier to Indian accounting standards, we used to follow the GAAP series. Now we have established on the Indian accounting standards. So what we have done, what CMI has done is we have mapped the GAAP series to Ind AS, and you have the entire time series under annual financial statements. But if you want to work on only Indian accounting standards, which is from 2015 onwards, you can work on the other series as well. But if you want to work on the longer time frame, which is the past series data before 2015, then this is the query trigger that you should select. Once I make the selection of annual financial statements, what comes up to me is the list of financial indicators. This is a financial indicator tree. Now I can make my selections. For example, I want total income. Each of these indicator has its further drop downs to talk about the composition, the line elements of a particular head. So for example, total income is calculated, includes all these variables, right? So if I want, say, I want to look at total income, total expenses, I want PAT, I want total liabilities. This is what I want for Maruti, right? Now, what next? When you're looking at a database, when you're looking at a data figure, you will need it for a certain time frame or a particular year. Where do you put your year is under query on date and output date. These are two different query triggers. Now, query on date is a date frame on which you run the queries, and output date is for which you're asking to generate an output. This can be same or this can be different depending on what your query is. You don't need to memorize the syntaxes. There's a question mark available right here which will define how to put in a query on date or output date, right? Now, let me give you a brief. The default to both these domains are L and AP, which is L stands for the latest record available for a particular company. So now if you're working on a set of 100 companies, and there are and you run a query keeping the domain to L, which is the latest record available. So for whatever company, the latest record is available till 2015, the latest year becomes 2015. For whatever company, the latest record is updated till 2020, the latest year for that particular company becomes 2020. So this does not stand for latest financial year, but the latest record available for a particular company. Then AP stands for as per query on date. Whatever date range that you put in under query on date, the output will be generated for the same date range. So right now, I, for example, want it from 2016 to 20. So how do I put it here? Is year and the financial month, which is 2016-03. And I say my end year. I put a hyphen in between to give it a range and say the end year, 2020-03. The syntax is the month, the financial month, financial year for which you want the data, which is 2016 in this case, and 03, you put the financial month, which is the March ending, and 2020-03. We will keep the domain of the output date as AP. Again, I will have to change the domain from all companies to companies in current OSC, and I will simply say add data. You can ask after I run this query. I'm going to take a 5 minutes break wherein you can ask your questions if you have any doubts in these few steps that we have just triggered. I will click on the new output tab. It will open our dialog box to me, and I will see if the data has been added or not. So like I said, I want data on the total income, total expenses for the multiple years, and the same has been added to my output sheet. Now, once you have this in your output sheet, you might want to pull it out in an Excel file. How do you do that is, you have an option available right here on the top of your screens on the left hand side, which says Save as Excel. You can simply click on Save as Excel, give it a file name and save. And this gets saved in the system of yours. Or you can even copy paste the data simply like you do in Excel. Click on the first cell. This will select the entire table. Control C and Control V. This is how you save the data. This is how you pull out the data for one particular company for multiple years, and then how you save that. Now, I would like to halt here and ask if anybody has any queries, any questions, or if there is any doubt in any of the steps that I've taken through.
Yeah, participants, if you are having any query regarding any parameters which has been explained in this session, so you can ask the question to ma'am. Ma'am, can I ask one question?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. For example, if I want to take the data related to the marketing expenses of Maruti Suzuki or the advertising expenses or the digital marketing expenses, so is it available in the database?
Yes, and I will show you where. So you go back to the query builder. You come back to the query builder. You under total expenditure, sir, you have all the expenses mentioned, right? So it is selling and distribution. If you want marketing, there's a search bar right here. You can simply say marketing. You can search the keyword here and it will take you to the marketing expenses, advertising expenses, distribution expenses, and you can simply make your selections. If I want to sum of the selling and distribution expenses, I can just select the head. If I want all the breakup also, so I will just press control on my keyboard and do a click here. So this will select, it will give me a sum of selling and distribution. It will also give me advertising, marketing, rebates and discount expenses, sales promotion, distribution expenses. These are all the expenses that it will give me. And if Maruti has given the bifurcation of all these expenses, all these will come up in my output sheet and I will just simply add it and show it to you. I will keep the tenure the same and I will simply say add data to OSC. So if you can see, this data has been added to the output sheet, the sales, promotion, distribution expenses, selling and distribution for the various years.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Participants, if you want to ask any question regarding the same, so you can just ask, or you can write in chat box also. Ma'am, I think now there is no query to the participants, so you can just go ahead.
Right, I'll do that. Okay, so now what we pulled out was for one particular company. Now, what if I want to work on a set of companies or I want to work on an industry group? How do I do that? I go back to the query builder. All the query processing, all the questions that you ask through the database happens through the query builder. This is what I want to clarify right here. So whatever queries that you run will be through the query builder, and whatever outputs will be you will get is under output view and worksheet. Now let's see, like I said, I want to work on a company set. So I go to companies and sets and I go to the second subhead of it. Earlier I went to the first subhead because I had a company's name in mind. Now I'm going to the second subhead of it, which gives me the predefined sets, which is the industry tree. As soon as I go in here, I will get an industry tree, which has bifurcation of all industries. If you want to work on only the BSE indices or NIC indices, you can do that. There's a COSPI index, which is the CMI index. Then if you want to work on, like I said, Provis IQ gives data on listed as well as unlisted companies. Now, what if you only want to work on the listed companies and that's it? So you have a separate category to select wherein you can select the listed and permitted companies and keep working on that, and so on and so forth, other categories. Right now, I say I want to work on the entire industry group and I want to select a particular industry right from here. So I expand all industries. I have two bifurcations again, which is non-financial and financial services, and then there is irrigation and diversified industry. I, for example, want to work for non-financial, say manufacturing. I want to go for transport equipment, and I want to work on automobile, and I want to particularly work on automobile sector. I can even further go into automobile and say I want to only work on commercial vehicles or passenger vehicles or two-wheeler, three-wheeler companies or diversified automobile. This is my outlook. Which category I want to work on? I want to work on the entire set. I select the parent head of it. So in this case, once I've selected the industry that I want to work on, you can select one industry at a go or you can select multiple industries. That is completely based on the requirements that you have for data. Right now, I've selected one industry, which is the automobile. In this case, I will keep the domain to all companies. That means all the companies under automobile industry should get selected and added to my output sheet. Now, it is on my discretion again if I want to add it to my current sheet, which is the Maruti sheet, or if I want to create a new sheet out of it. So I want to create a new sheet out of it. I will simply say send to new OSC. And as soon as I do that, it will again show me the prompt of that the query has been triggered successfully. And right here, you get to see the status of the query, if it is queued, processing, or the output has been generated. Right? Okay. So when I look at automobile, I have a list of 71 companies added to my output sheet. Now, in the similar fashion, like we did for Maruti, we can pull out data for these 71 companies at a go. So let's twist a query a little. I want to look at all these companies. Out of all these 71 companies, how many of them have earned a profit in the year 2020, 2019 and 2020 continuously? If in even 1 year the company was into losses, that company should get eliminated. If that particularly is my query. So what happens is when you're doing a research, it is mandatory for a researcher to create a panel of companies that they want to work on. So right now, let's work on how you create a panel of companies, of the qualifying companies for yourself. So I will repeat the query that I just spoke. Out of the 71 companies that I have just got in my output sheet, I want to look at companies who have earned a profit in 2019 and 2020. Right? That be my assessment year. So all I need to do is so what I did earlier to this is I cleared off all my previous selection. All the things that I had selected earlier, I cleared them off by simply clicking on clear. I select profit and I go to PAT. I want only profit making companies. Now, how do I specify that profit should be in positive? So there is a range from and a range to right here, wherein you can give it a range in terms of amount of the profit. You can even say that you only want companies who have earned a profit of more than 100 crores. Right? All you need to do is, right now my query is, I only want to look at the profit making companies. So from May, I will put 0, because any profit which is more than 0 is not negative, is a profit making company. There is no to range, there is no limit to the profit that they can earn. They should just be profit making companies. So मैंने from May, I have just put in a 0 here. Now in the query on date, my query was that it should be profit making in both the years, 19 as well as 20. अगर एक भी साल में, if there is even 1 year in between 19 and 20, wherein they have incurred a loss, the company should get eliminated. So now the syntax to that query will be 2019 03, put an amp percentage in between, which is an and sign, and 2020 03, right? And I will keep the domain to of the output date as AP. Change the domain for the execution of the query, which is the domain part, from all companies to companies in current OSC. Now it is on my discretion whether I want to edit my current sheet, whether I want to edit this 71 wala sheet, wherein the companies who do not qualify the criteria would get eliminated, would get deleted from the sheet, or I can keep this as my reference parent sheet and create the new sheet for qualifying companies. So in Provis IQ, you can work on multiple sheets at a time, and you can trigger multiple queries. I am running one query at a time so that I can show you the entire process. You can trigger multiple queries at one go and then ultimately look at an output. So I want to look at the companies, and from the qualifying companies, I say that it should create a new sheet. I've just simply said send to new SC. My query has gone under process. Because under processing, it shows 1. And then once the processing is done, the new output will be generated. So now, if you can see, out of the 71 companies that we had, only 18 companies qualified the criteria of being profit making in the consecutive last 2 years. Now, this becomes my set of companies that I want to work on because this was my qualifying criteria. You can have multiple qualifying criteria. I just had one. Whatever qualifying criteria you have. So for example, I had PAT as my qualifying criteria. You probably can have qualifying criteria of total income. Say you want profit making and the total income of the company should be more than 1,000 crores. So these become 2 criteria, right? Now, if I want to run this query, this is the second query that I want to run. I will come back to the output view. And now if I want to run it on the 71 companies that I again had, this is, how do I do that is, whatever query that you runs on the current sheet. So this is my current sheet right now. How do I know that is, this C is turned into blue. Each of these sheet number, in front of it, there's a C written, which is black in the 2 other sheets and blue in the current sheet. So now if I want to turn the 71 companies as my current sheet, I simply select the sheet number and say set as current. Now, if you can notice, the sheet number of 1768 has turned blue. Now, if I run the query, this will run on the 71 sheet. Now, I have 2 qualifying criteria. One is PAT, which is, it should be profit making, and the total income in both the years should be more than 1,000 crores. This is my qualifying criteria, and now I have 2. You can pull out 3 criteria also. I'm just giving you, I'm just trying to pose an example, and I say send to new S. Now, how do I know this is crore? You have currency mentioned here. If you want to run it in crore, or you want to select any other currency, you can do that. Rupees, million, UK pound, all of this is available right here. You can change the currency value from here. Currency unit, sorry. Now, to download the data, again, the same process. You have to click on the new output tab. And now you have 2 qualifying criteria. Out of the 71 companies, I have 16 companies who are profit making and their total turnover is more than 1,000 crore in the past 2 years. Right? So this becomes the qualifying criteria and this becomes the set. Now, like I said at the beginning of the session, that we continuously keep adding more companies to the data. Right? And we also keep updating the database based on the financial reports which are available. We keep updating also. So now, if you want to keep your set of companies same for your research further on, how you create a set of the companies is now my next query that I'm going to run. Now, if I have selected this as on date, say on the 17th of February, I ran a query and I created a set of companies which gave me a set of 16 companies. Now I want to keep this set and I don't want this set to change. How do I do that is, I can create a set of these companies which is called as a user set. So I can say save as user set, which will create which will save this list of companies, these 16 companies in my system and in my particular login. Nobody else but you can see it if you're using it with your individual logins. So nobody else but you will be able to see this set of companies. IPS, I can give it a file name and say save. Okay, I already have this name. So I said IPS EG, which is the example, and I go to the query builder. Now, the next time that I come in on Progress IQ, I don't have to select these 16 companies again. I already will have a set created for me in my particular login, and I can simply load that companies and start working. So I've saved it as a set. How do I get that set now? I go to companies and sets. I go to select companies in predefined sets. And on the right hand side, I have the drop down of user sets. To load whatever you have created, you have clear and rewrote right here. Once you do that, the set you just created will get uploaded. If you can see, IPS EG has been created. Now I have to simply click on this and say send to new SC. And the 16 companies that you were just pulled out will get added to the new output sheet. Okay, so like this is showing me an error of no new output to show. This comes up when you've just triggered a query and the query hasn't generated an output, it is still under processing. This will give you an error of no new output to show. And you can see these 16 companies will not change no matter how many companies get added into the automobiles industry. This set will stay as it is in your particular login. Now, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address and then move ahead with it. Do we have any questions so far?
Ma'am, I am having a query.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, if Tata Motors database is available for the operations which has been done in India, now they are having operations in European market also. So can we get the data of the business which has been generated in foreign market by the same company?
Only if they give you a statistics so they will not give you the operation details, but they might publish that what is the revenue generation in the international market, and that is the only figure that you will get here. And that is
Okay,
that
ma'am.
too if they are publishing it in the ARs in India.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions that we have?
Yeah, participants, if you want to ask any questions from the ma'am, so you can just ask. No, ma'am, I think this is clear to everyone, so you can just proceed.
We'll proceed now. Now the next part. I had a company's name in mind. I selected that particular company. I had an industry group in mind. I made those selections. Now, drawing from Dr. Agarwal's session, he wanted to pull out companies based on the NIC code, right? You should know the NIC code when you're working on the industry. And if you want to pull out companies from the NIC code, I'm going to take you through that process as well. So all you need to do is come down to business segments and products and go to main product and service group. Here you have CMI's classification, and on the right hand side you have NIC classification. Now there's this NIC code of commercial vehicles which is 29101, and if that is what you're looking out for, you can simply type in the NIC code in the search bar and click on search. It will take you to that NIC code. You simply select the code that you want to work on and keep the domain to all companies. Now, if you only want the list of companies, you simply run the query by saying send to new SC. But if you want to look at the product information and the particular, you want to know the company's name and the particular product name that it has, under that NIC code, you can pull it out in the worksheet. So you simply click the worksheet and say send to new OSC and WS. I have ran it on the latest record available for these companies for this NIC classification. And the output has been generated. So just click on new output tab. Continue. And if you see, you have the NIC name and the NIC code along with the company's name. If you want to this, so each output sheet, now let me mention this right here. Each output sheet the each worksheet that you create simultaneously creates an output view, an output sheet as well with the name of the companies. So in the worksheet, you have the company's name, the slot date, the date on which the latest financial record was updated, the main product or service group of the company, the NIC code, and the NIC name. This is all the information about a particular NIC. Now, for these list of companies, a duplicate output view, which is the output sheet, is also created. So now if you want to add any financial indicator to these companies, you can do that. So this is the three types of selections that you can do if you have a company's name in mind, an NIC group in mind, and this is how you make your way through if you have a starting point in that sense. Now, for example, I don't have an industry, I don't have a company, I don't have an NIC code in mind. I have a financial filter in mind and I want to work through that. How do I do that is, again, like I did for a set of companies, I can do it for the entire database. I again will have to come back to the financial statements and I can select my criteria. For example, I only want companies whose total turnover is, the total income of the company is between 1,000 to 2,000 crores. And this is my criteria of the qualifying companies. Okay. Here I have given my qualifying criteria for the total turnover. Here I can give the year. Say I want to work on, my assessment year is 2019. So and this is one single year. So I simply say 2019-03. The output date should be AP, which is as per query on date. I will, in this case, keep the domain to all companies. That means all the companies with the total turnover between 1,000 to 2,000 crores should get listed in my output view. And I say send to NIS. This is how you make your way through. I am just posing a few examples. The right way to work through this database is only to explore it by your own self, to get your hands dirty, and that is how you get to know the service well. My output is still in process. That's why it showed me a pop-up. Now, if I don't want to look at the output, I want to keep it at hold, and I want to trigger different queries again. So I need not wait for an output to get generated. My criteria in this query was a financial indicator. Now, if I don't have a financial indicator in mind, I want to work on all those companies to which a particular person is a director, right? How do I do that? I go to ownership structure and governance indicators. Right here is where you get all the HR data. If you want to keep in mind, just keep in mind these heads. Ownership structure and governance indicators is, like I said, will give you all the HR pertaining data. And here I have a director's name in mind, like I said. So I go to name of director / manager. I can type in the director's name. Say, for example, I want to work for companies to which Rakesh Junjunwala is a director. Now, there are two Rakesh Junjunwala. The spelling to which is different. Do you want a WALA or do you want a WAL? You need to make your selection. I, for example, want the first one. Again, we'll keep the domain to all companies. I want the date. I want to look at the data. So this selection, select output destination will show you what data will it give. If you pull it out in the output sheet, it will only give you the company's name. If you pull it out in the worksheet, it will give you the company's name, the director's name, and the indicators that you choose. So I want to see Rakesh Junjunwala as a director. I want to know the designation category, if he's executive or a non-executive, if he's a promoter to the company or not, if he is an independent or a non-independent director, the board of meetings. So all of these variables are available right here. Board of meetings attended, number of other companies, chairman. So this also gives you a study of the cross directorship. So this is all there. I have made my few selections and I say, no manager select. Okay, just a second. I'm not selected. Double click on it and the name gets selected. And for which year I want to look at, say 19 again. Let's just download the previous output that we had pulled out for the query that we had run from 1000 to 2000 crore turnover. So this is a list of 854 companies in which the turnover in the 2019 was between 1000 to 2000 crores. You can play around with the data. You can sort this by just selecting the row and saying row sorting. And I say descending. So all of this can be done within the database itself. Now this is about the query processing. After this query, I would like to quickly show you the third workspace, which is the report viewer and chart plotter section, wherein there are simple clickable reports. There's one more thing that I would like to address. When you're looking at a database and as researchers, there are few questions on the composition of a particular variable, of how total income is calculated, or what is the definition of sale of goods. So all of those is available within the service, and I'm going to show you quickly that. See, this database is huge. So to cover it in one session won't be possible. I have given you the pointers of what you can get. Now you will have to make your way through this. But I will show you the help guides and some more pointers that can help you build on your research or give you a perspective on how you can work through your way on Prowess. If you can see, in the latest year, Rakesh Junjunwala is a chairperson and another director to two companies only. The board of meetings that he has attended and number of other companies chairman is not given. It has not been disclosed by these companies. And this is how you make your way through. Now, let's, if you don't have any queries currently, then can I move forward, or do we have any queries right now to address? Okay, so seems there are no queries to be answered right now. So now I am going to take you, I have taken you through the query processing. I would like to show you where you don't have to trigger a query, you just have to load a company and make your way through, and you can view the reports one by one. Which is the third workspace, which takes me to the third workspace, which is the report viewer and chart plotter section. This is the easy part of Prowess. How do I load a particular company in the report viewer section is, I just have to select the company from my output view. Say I'm working on Maruti Suzuki, so I'm going to click that. And as soon as I go to the report viewer section, whatever company I have clicked in the output view will get loaded in the report viewer section. Now, I make my selection again. I just click on it and I can start viewing all these reports, and I will start with one-page profile. Now, this one-page profile gives me an insight on the company's performance, and this is a consolidated report created by CMI based on the data. This gives you some identity details, which is the CMI company code, the recognition code of the company, the SIN code, the ownership and the auditor details, what is the ownership group, who are the auditors of the company, the address. If it is a listed company, it will give you a market performance chart. Again, for the listed company, it will give you the quarterly performance data and then the annual performance data. And you can simply save this as an Excel file also. The Excel icon is available right here. This you're looking at a standalone figure. You can even look at the consolidated statement. Now, to know more about the company, you can explore each of these categories, right from their address details. If you want to know the plant locations, you can go on address. You will know what all exchanges that this particular company is listed on. So if you see, it gives you the basic identity, the registered office, the registrar's office of the company, the SIN code, the script code, the exchanges that it is listed on, and the plant locations of the company. Moving ahead, for many companies, and there are a lot of research papers written on this subject, there are a lot of companies that enter into a market being a manufacturing concern, and then later they switch to a trading concern, right? There are a lot of changes in classification that happens for a lot of companies. This is Maruti, so this obviously is not there, but there is a history of this available, as in if there has been any change in the classification of the industry of a company, it will get listed right here. Then there is an analytical article on the background of the company. These reports are quite beneficial if you want to use the service in your classroom teaching. For your own insights, obviously it is useful, but it also helps the students to go deeper into a company and do a company analysis. So this is a article, a company background article, which will also list the exchanges that is listed on and the latest performance of the company based on the latest year financial record. Then now let's look at the ownership details. If I want to look at the equity ownership, I simply have to go to ownership and governance reports, and I will know the equity ownership data of this particular company. And this is as per December 2020. You have the entire report, who are the promoters, how much of an individual investment is there, how much of it the promoters are from the corporate bodies. All of this is available. Then you can look at the trends of equity ownership of the company to know how well is it functioning. If this is in numbers, you can also look at in the percentage of total, percentage share in total. Then you can look at the major owners of the equity shareholders, and you can look at it over time. So you will know the major investors or equity holders in a particular company. Then you can look at the shares pledged by major owners, shares pledged by promoters. All of these reports are available readily. Now, if you want to look at shareholding of the promoters, if there is any shareholding of the promoters which is updated on a recent times, it will be here. Then you have the governance reports, the board of directors and their remuneration, which is a very important report when you're looking at it. You would want to know who are the directors involved in the management committee, what is the designation of theirs, and how much of an amount is going to them. This can be pulled out right from here. And all these reports, like I said previously, can be saved as an Excel file. You can look at the trends in the director's ownership, the board committees and meetings, the composition of the board of directors, the board meeting dates and purposes. All of these reports are available right here. Now, if there are companies, you want to look at the subsidiary information. See, subsidiary information is one information which is not mandatory, but this will be available for whatever companies that disclose them. So this is the subsidiary information. You can look at the auditor's details. For who have been the auditors? Has there been a change in the auditors? So like till 2016, PwC was the auditor for Maruti Suzuki. Now it is Deloitte. You want to look at the bankers details or the bankers to the company, you can look at that. And this is all time series data. Then coming down to the financial performance, when you're analyzing a particular company, there are a lot of financial indicators that you want to look at. And if you don't have a particular indicator in mind, but you want to look at a complete statement, you can look at it from here. You can go to financial statements, you can look at the summary reports and say, I want to look at a consolidated executive summary report. You can even look at an income expenditure summary, balance sheet, cash flow, and all the other. If you want to look at only the income details, the expense details, the profits and appropriation, these sare documents are simply available at just one click. Now this is time series data. It is giving me data from 2011 to 2020. Now, like I said, the time series in Provis IQ starts from 1988 onwards. I want to look at a back time series data. How can I do that is, under the default, I have a few numbers. From here, I can change the number of years from till 60 years. I can look at data till 60 years and I will just have to reselect the report. And once I do that, this will give me data from 1989 onwards because that is what is available for Maruti. And you can look at the complete time series of Maruti Suzuki. Now, as researchers, you would like to know the composition of a particular indicator and even to build your confidence. I'm just lessening the number of years so that the processing gets faster. If you're looking at a particular report and you want to know how this total income was calculated, say for example, how is this figure coming into picture? All I need to do is click on this figure and I go to report data description. And this will have the list of all the indicators that is there in that report. And then the 6-level breakup of the figure that I'm looking at. So for example, if I'm looking at the total income consists of total income from continued operation, income from discontinued operation, gain on assets. I want to look at a further breakup of it. So I go to the level 2. I say sales. Sales has a breakup of sales, income from financial services, other income. I want to look at a further breakup of it. I go to the level 3. Now, there is this non-financial services income. Now, what we have done in the database is that we have linked each and every figure to its annual report. So now there is this figure of 8503 of non-financial services income. Now, how do I know that this income that I'm working on is correct? Each of these figures, like I said, has been hyperlinked to the annual report, and this A is the link to that. If I click on that, this shows me a prompt that spare parts, dies and molds plus the rental income becomes to be the non-financial services income, and the page number 238 has these values. So all I need to do is click on the page number and it will open the PDF screenshot of the annual report, which will have these figures. So I'm not going to show you because this asks for an update and this will hamper the session. So as soon as you click on this report and the page number, this will open up the screenshot of the annual report to you. That will build the confidence that the data that you're working on is correct. And you will also get an insight on what is the composition of a particular indicator. And this you can monitor on a time series data, because I was looking at 4 years data. So this is giving me a time series of 4 years. If you're looking at a 10 years data, it will give you the further series as well. Now, one more thing. If you don't want to look at where is this figure coming from, but I want a definition from what is non-financial services income. Each of these variable in front of them, there's a question mark available right here. So if I click on this question mark, it will take me to the website of Provis IQ. All I need to do is log in with my credentials. and go back here, click on the question mark again, and it will talk about an elaborate definition of what exactly is the particular indicator that I'm looking for. What is the field name, what is the indicator, and what is the data type, what is the currency. So all of this will be defined right here. So you know what you're working on and what is the definition to it. Then quickly I will take you through the part where I was saying that you can compare your company with a market competition. That is also available in simple clickable reports. All the financial ratios I would like you to note that are right here under this financial ratios head. If I want, I can look at the profitability ratio for Maruti Suzuki for the last 5 years. And now, if I want to compare, I'm just rushing it up because I am short on time. And I just want to give you an overview of what all do you have so that you can explore it later on. So you go to peer comparison. If you go to peer comparison, you have three levels on which you can compare. So you have peer comparison, wherein it will show you the list of its competitors along with where does Maruti stands. And then you can look at the financials of whatever report you're looking at. So if I'm looking at a profitability statement, the financials will be displayed accordingly. Now, how do these companies qualify as a competitor to each other is, we take the characteristics of the target company, and the target company in this case is Maruti Suzuki. It's a passenger car and vans industry. The sales revenue is very high. The dependence on imported raw material is low. The proportion of foreign currency borrowing is nil. And the forex earning orientation is also low. So these are the characteristics, and based on which all these companies are classified as a competitor to each other. These might or might not be a perfect competition. That is based on the qualifying criteria that it qualifies to. All the Y's denote that it qualifies to the criteria, and all the dashes denote that it doesn't. Now, based on this, you can do a peer comparison, all the vis-a-vis the categories. So if I look at the peer comparison report, the peer benchmarking report, this will compare my target company vis-a-vis the category. So I'm comparing Maruti with passenger car vehicles, then I'm comparing Maruti's performance with sales revenue, very high company, and so on and so forth. These are the comparisons that are done. And then you can compare your target company with the industry benchmarks, which is the industry comparison that you do. So how your company is performing vis-a-vis the industry benchmarks. And 3 years data of Maruti Suzuki vis-a-vis 3 years data of passenger vehicle industry. So this is how you do it. Again, you can save these files as an Excel file with just simply clicking on Save as Excel. There is one more thing that I would like to show you right here is, I've showed you the HR data, I've showed you the financial data. I would like you, the marketing people, to explore this segment, which is the business segments and products, wherein you can look at the performance-wise, performance by product. So if I want to look at the Maruti Suzuki's performance by product, so this is one segment. So they haven't published this report. Let me select another company altogether, and I will show you the data. So you know how much of an Indian market is giving to a particular company and how much to an international market is. If I switch from, let me switch from a automobile to a consumer-based company, and if I select HUL, I'll load this company to my report viewer. All I did was again came to the report, query trigger, query builder, and selected the company by its name, which is HUL, and executed the query so that it gets added to my output sheet and that I can finally load it to my report viewer section. So I have HUL and I will reselect the report. So now if you can see, you can evaluate a company's performance, the product wise, and you can see HUL segments are beverages, foods, other personal products, soaps and detergents, and which of the segment is doing well and which segment is doing better than the others. And then you can look at the assets and liabilities, the quarterly performance. You can look at the geographical segment. So like there was this question raised that can it also talk about the international market performance? So this is the only heads that they give, sir. So you can get the Indian generation, Indian market revenue, and the outside India, which is the foreign market revenue. And this you can pull out for all the companies who have published these reports. These are, I would like to mention right here that these are not mandatory reports. And then you have the capex and merger acquisitions reports, which will talk about the merger acquisition deals. There's one more thing that I will leave you with, and I would like you people to explore is there are some topical queries that are given just for your reference, wherein you don't have to trigger anything, but if you want to run few advanced modules, you can look at this. So you go to companies and sets, and there are some batches, like we were saying, that you can save the save multiple queries under one set. So all of that is available right here. And under the user batches, you can look at these figures. I'll just show you how. So we have topical queries. So if you want to look at returns on the future group companies, if you're working on the markets, NSE stock and hit the companies that have hit 52 weeks high. If you want to look at the 365 days return of companies in the BSE midcap, all of these are listed right here. All you need to do is click on the query and say execute, and the query will be executed. Now, this is about the offering of Prowess IQ on a major level. Now, I would like to show you two things which will help you once the session is over. Obviously, you can't grasp all of this at one go. You will need a helping hand once you start working on it. So, how you can do that is my next part of it. So, here we are on the website of Prowess IQ. All you need to do is log in with your credentials. And on the website, you have a knowledge base right here. As soon as you log in on the service, this page comes up to you. You go to the knowledge base, and this will talk about the entire composition of Prowess IQ. How is it created? How are the companies added, and all of that. Apart from that, under the Prowess IQ query triggers, you again have all the 9 query triggers that we've been speaking about in the entire session. And each of these query triggers have the help guides. If you expand each of these and make the selections, it has a written description and a play video of how to run that particular query. So like I showed you how to select a company's name and how to run a query, this entire video of each query will show you how to run that particular query. The next is that you have the data dictionaries, the definitions that I showed you. You can view it from the website, or you can download this a PDF of the data dictionaries, which is available for Prowess IQ data dictionary, which is the GAP series, and you have available it for the Indian accounting standards also. So you can simply download it, and you can make your way through to the different indicators and different variables that you have, and it will have definition for each of them. Apart from this, I will also like to show you there is this news and extract section, wherein sometimes what is needed is you want to read the text reports which are there. So if you type in the company's name here, say Maruti, and you select the company, all the text reports, right from the complete annual report to the extracts of the annual report, will be listed here in the PDF formats. And you can simply look at the complete annual report. If you don't want that, you can look at the director's report, auditor's report, accounting policies, note to accounts. You have the investors' information, the chairman's speech, the employee remuneration disclosures, the management discussion analysis. Now, this is one very incisive document that the companies give out, which is the management discussion and analysis. This talks about the performance of the products of the company and the strategies that they have adopted over time. What worked, what failed. So this can be one case study that you can share with your students and can also use in your research purposes and know what Maruti was thinking when they were adopting one particular strategy. The corporate governance report, the CSR report, all of these reports are available on the time series basis. You can simply click on them and the PDFs gets downloaded. The last but not the least is if anytime you require any help from CMI, you have an online help desk portal which is called Seek Clarification. And if I go in there, I have some predefined categories. If you're facing any operational issue, if you want a clarification on the content which is presented in the product, that is also available here. Majorly, people face an issue on running the queries of how to run it. So you can simply go in here, availability of data, and you can simply click on a particular category, type in the company's name, and simply post the query. And this is how to go about it. This is from my side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address.
Participants, you're free to ask any queries if you have. Also, I'll be sharing the official number of Soumya ma'am on the group. So if anybody wish to reach her out regarding any subscription or any other issue related to CMI and Progress IQ products, so they can reach them directly. I think Soumya ma'am, once we'll be using it, we'll be getting more queries, because for now we have taken a demo, and definitely once we'll be applying all that you have taught in the session, so we'll be having more queries for you. And I would like to thank you from all the participants to help them understand what this database is all about and how to maximally utilize this database. And thank you so much, Soumya ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kiran. It was a pleasure addressing you all. And I hope this session helps you in the research motives that you have. And we look forward to more interaction like of these. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Participants, we have already pasted the feedback link in the chat window. You can fill it, and we have also forwarded the same on the WhatsApp group. Rest, from 1:30 to 2:30, we'll be having a lunch break. And the next session by Dr. Girish Agrawal will resume at 2:30 p.m. Thank you, all the participants, and thank you, Soumya ma'am. Thank you.